Maybe I do.
But it's interesting.
Will it be so terrible?
Welcome to MsMojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the LGBTQIA+ celebs and their allies who stood their ground and pushed back with pride when faced with out-of-line questions.
And thank you so much.
And you're even being named.
For giving me the opportunity to express the rumors. But Barbara, for some reason, I just don't feel like it.
Number 30, Barbara Walters. Barbara Walters is known for asking the tough, sometimes way too personal questions, but this time she's the one playing defense.
I've heard her songs, but I think that she and Kate Gosselin are the same person. They just changed the wig.
Not at all.
Okay, but
totally.
I gotta give Lady Gaga
You
credit.
are so old-fashioned.
I
My
know.
God.
While chatting with Bill O'Reilly about her most fascinating celebs, things get tense fast. First, she claps back at his rude comments about Lady Gaga. Then, when they bring up Adam Lambert, O'Reilly shrugs him off as, quote, that gay guy.
Now, the third one is this gay guy, Adam Lambert.
If that's
okay?
how you're describing him, as this gay guy.
Well, the reason I am is because that's what he
also
trades on.
homophobic.
He
No,
trades on
he's
this.
not
Don't get me
trade on that.
homophobic.
Walters isn't having it. She pushes back, praising Lambert's talent and performance choices, while O'Reilly talks about his sexuality like it's just some kind of gimmick. It's great seeing Walters stand up to him, until she admits she once tried to out Lambert. So close, and yet, yikes.
He was expressing himself.
In a way that was gay.
He also has some talent. And he's also
As
very
to quote
honest.
Seinfeld,
He's
not that there's anything wrong with that.
Okay. By the way,
Yes.
This is the first time that I have done interviews where I have asked 2 people out of the 10 what their sexuality is.
Number 29, Betty White. This one's a little different. It's not that Betty White was asked a homophobic question, but more how she'd handle the haters. While The Golden Girls had its flaws, the show had long been a supporter of the LGBTQIA+ community.
I did understand, and if I were, like you, I think I'd be very flattered and proud that you thought of me that way.
Thank you, Rose.
White showed in this interview that the support wasn't just for show. We love that she's more focused on grammar than giving any space to hate.
Oh, I don't care who you sleep with, whom you sleep with. I don't, it's what kind of a human being are you?
You can tell part of her feels like this should go without saying, but she also gets how important it is, especially from someone in her position, to take a stand. It's another moment that shows why Betty White was such an incredible ally and icon.
I don't understand. It's such a personal, private business and none of mine.
You're so right.
Number 28, Harry Styles. While interviewing for the French talk show Quotidien, Harry Styles was asked for his thoughts on Brexit, because if you were British and anywhere outside the UK, you could see that question coming a mile away. Styles gracefully sidesteps the subject, wanting to keep politics and his music separate.
I don't really comment on politics.
Je n'ai pas envie de faire des commentaires d'ordre politique.
To me, I think anything that brings people together is
Ce qu'il faut, c'est qu'on soit rassemblés plutôt que...
But that opens the door for the host to pivot hard, bringing up Styles' support for gender and LGBTQIA+ equality. Bit of a leap going from Brexit to basic human rights, but that's the curse of being a famous Brit back then. Styles handles it perfectly, saying he doesn't see equality as political. It just should be. Simple as that. End of story.
That doesn't feel like politics.
Je ne sais pas, je ne pense pas que ce soit de la politique.
Stuff like equality feels much more like fundamentals.
Les questions d'égalité, ce sont des questions fondamentales. Je pense qu'on devrait tous être égaux.
That doesn't feel like politics to me.
Number 27, Andrew Scott. To any reporters out there, might we suggest not interrogating actors about their co-stars' nether regions?
Do you know Barry well?
I know Barry, yeah.
Okay, your reaction when you first saw the naked dance scene at the end of Saltburn?
No spoilers, please, though. Okay, well, listen, I won't spoil it for anybody.
At this BAFTA interview, a BBC reporter got way too curious about Andrew Scott's thoughts on that Saltburn scene. First off, yes, we agree with the voice in the corner saying no spoilers. Seriously, how unprofessional. But worse was the reporter ignoring Scott's obvious discomfort and pressing on anyway, leaving Scott no choice but to walk away.
Or do you know him?
I don't know.
Too much, too much.
Naturally, the clip blew up online, with the BBC receiving complaints over how insensitive it felt. They responded, saying the reporter wasn't trying to be malicious, but admitted the question was misjudged. You think?
I'm sorry, Mom, I asked so many rude questions.
Number 26. Mariah Carey. Mariah's ice cream cart stunt has gone down in infamy and is one she would address later in her career.
It was a stunt gone awry, as we say. It was not like, oh my God. By today's standards, it's like nothing. It wouldn't even get picked up in one place.
Anyway, you can tell TRL host Carson Daly was totally blindsided by it all. So we'll chalk his awkward reaction up to sheer confusion.
Hi, Carson.
What are you doing here?
Hi.
How are you?
I just thought I'd surprise
What are you wearing?
When she tries to gift him a Loverboy t-shirt, he hesitates, brushing it off as essentially, quote, not for men. Carey coolly shuts that down fast, seeing the shirt's for everyone and that she doesn't discriminate. The whole segment is a chaotic swirl of glitter, ice cream, and confusion. Yet that moment still makes us wince all these years later.
Like, this could be the start of it.
That, of course, would be the girls' division of our clothing line.
Well, a guy could wear this. What's wrong with a guy wearing this?
Sure.
We love all types of people.
Number 25. Daniel Radcliffe. Daniel Radcliffe has long been known as an LGBTQIA+ ally, even more so since transphobia has clouded the Harry Potter legacy like a dark mark.
You walked in here, you ruptured the pattern. Bang! The whole world gets wider.
In Kill Your Darlings, he played poet Allen Ginsberg, who happens to be gay, and the film included a few intimate scenes. Speaking to HuffPost UK, Radcliffe noted how often he's asked about those scenes, saying people seem, quote, really shocked by it. But he doesn't think it's shocking. He called it as an example of the, quote, acceptable face of homophobia, describing the reactions as downright childish.
And let thy loud heart kick.
Number 24. Richard Gere. We've already talked about Barbara Walters' invasive questions, and trust us, we're not done yet.
And when the topic of Cindy Crawford came up, Richard called to his publicist, Andrea Jaffe, for help. But at last, I had him cornered.
In 1991, she interviewed Richard Gere, who had previously starred in the play Bent. He was apparently so convincing that some people questioned whether he was actually gay, rather than, just a good actor. Walters asked him to address the rumors, and Gere gave a short, direct answer.
You played it so well that there are many people who think you are. Does that trouble you?
Not at all, not in the least.
But she wasn't done. She waited for him to elaborate, and he calmly responded that he doesn't care if people think he's gay, because there's nothing wrong with that. What did she expect him to say? Eventually, Walters realized she wasn't getting more and moved right along.
There's nothing wrong with being homosexual. But it doesn't bother me, believe me. Not at all.
Good.
Number 23. Adam Lambert. Adam Lambert sent shockwaves through the entertainment industry when, at the 2009 AMAs, and we're hoping you're sitting down for this, he got a bit spicy during his performance. We know. Pearl-clutching stuff, right? It seemed like everyone was talking about it. It was almost as if the 2003 VMAs never even happened. Apparently, it wasn't something he'd rehearsed, but it just felt right in the moment. In a quote from Showbiz Tonight, Lambert called out the unfairness around the reaction.
As an artist, you never apologize for what you do in your performance, so I agree with him on that note.
He pointed out that if he were a woman, he doesn't believe it would have caused this much backlash, calling it, quote, a form of discrimination and a double standard.
A lot of it has to do with that he's a male and that he's gay, because when Madonna, Britney, and Christina did this at the VMAs, yeah, we buzzed about it, but there wasn't a controversy about it. For some reason, when he kisses another guy, everyone goes up in arms.
Number 22. Ringo Starr. Howard Stern is another of those interviewers who never holds back when he thinks there's tea to be spilled.
Ever have a man?
No.
Never.
Oh.
Never went that way.
No.
Could have had any man you wanted.
Could have had any man I wanted, but no.
Yeah, what about John?
Never had John.
In this interview with former Beatle Ringo Starr, he digs into rumors about John Lennon's sexuality and whether he was ever intimate with their manager, Brian Epstein. We're sure Ringo gets that people will always ask about the Beatles, but come on, there's gotta be a line.
John have, what's his name? Brian Epstein.
Ask John.
We can't.
I'm trying to.
Yeah, ask Brian.
We can't ask him either.
Stern starts by questioning Starr's sexuality before pivoting to Lennon. To his credit, Ringo's response is brilliant. Polite, cool, collected, and very final. Or at least it should have been. Everyone but Stern could tell this topic of conversation was a total dead end.
Are you shocked?
I didn't hear about it.
Really?
I mean, I read about it like you did, but I didn't hear about it.
Number 21. Robin Williams. In 1996, Nathan Lane and Robin Williams starred in The Birdcage, playing a couple.
Look at the way you're holding your glass. Look at your pinky. Look at your posture.
What? What about you? You're obviously not a cultural whatever it is. You've never been to a museum and you eat like a pig.
Lane, who wasn't yet ready to discuss his sexuality publicly, confided in Williams just before they were set to be interviewed by Oprah that he was nervous the topic might come up. Now, we should say that Lane doesn't believe Oprah was trying to out him, but we all know someone's coming out journey is deeply personal and not something to be handled on national TV, and definitely not without consent.
Robin was just the greatest person, just such a beautiful, sensitive soul, and so kind and generous to me. And
luckily, Williams was right there and steered the conversation away with his usual wit and charm. Years later, Lane said he felt protected by Williams, calling him a saint.
People forever saying, are you or are you not? Is he, honey? I don't know.
Girl, you changed just in the middle of that sentence. I don't know. I'm telling you. Don't make me come out there.
Number 20. Ariana Grande. You might remember this as the interview where Grande called out the hosts when they asked her a super sexist question.
If you could use makeup or your phone one last time, which one would you pick? Makeup or your phone?
Is this what you think girls have trouble choosing between?
Yeah, absolutely.
But it wasn't her only clapback in the conversation. During an exchange about the newest emoji updates, Grande singled out the unicorn as one of her favorites. One of the hosts wasted no time implying that the unicorn is beloved only by girls and boys, whatever that's supposed to mean. The singer was even faster to fire back and suggested that the Power 106 FM hosts brush up on their equality.
Boys versus men.
Okay, yeah.
You know?
Okay.
You know? All right.
No, men.
Right.
Who says the unicorn emoji isn't for men? Come on.
Is it?
We commend her for just how calm and easygoing she remained, because we were seething the whole way through.
Real men use the unicorn emoji and aren't afraid.
That's a quote. quote right there.
Number 19, Ellen DeGeneres.
And I don't really know her, and I'm trying to understand it because I don't fully understand it either. But I also want everyone to be happy.
In a slight deviation from our other entries, this interview sees Ellen discussing Caitlyn Jenner's conservative views with Howard Stern. The former daytime talk show host vented her frustrations over how Jenner sought acceptance for herself after coming out as transgender, but drew the line at marriage equality.
You're wanting people to understand and accept you. This is like really confusing to people, and you still have a judgment about gay people and marriage.
When Stern asked if the pair danced together, Ellen said they had not, but she wasn't sure whether that was because the former Olympian wasn't much of a dancer or because of DeGeneres' sexual orientation. Sure, Jenner wasn't present for this interview, but if she had been, we have no doubt she'd have been called out by everyone present.
There's a person on TV crying that, hey, I want to be myself, I want to be genuine.
I don't
want people to ridicule me.
Yeah.
And then says in the same breath, gee, gay marriage, I don't get it. It's remarkable.
Number 18, Anna Paquin. In 2010, True Blood's Anna Paquin came out as bisexual. Apparently, this confused talk show host Larry King, since she's married to Stephen Moyer, a man.
Are you a non-practicing bisexual?
I am married to my husband, and we are happily monogamously married.
But you were bisexual.
Well, I don't think it's a past tense thing.
Paquin looked taken aback initially, but calmly and politely explained why his assumptions were illogical. The actress did an excellent job of clarifying that one's relationship status isn't necessarily indicative of their sexuality.
Are you still straight if you're with somebody? I mean, it doesn't mean you're not, if you were to break up with them or they were to die, it doesn't prevent your sexuality from
Stop
existing.
With wishful thinking, okay?
No, I'm just saying, it doesn't really work like that.
She also discussed the importance of education and exposure to knock out ignorance. It's hard to tell if she convinced the host since he swiftly changed the subject, but we were cheering her on the entire time.
I just never thought it was a big deal or sort of I don't know. There was no stigma.
Number 17, David Bowie. When the Heroes singer came out in the 70s, it seemed like everyone and their mother had an opinion. Publications tried to define his sexuality, and he dealt with some pretty invasive questions. He later told Playboy that he was bisexual, and eventually backtracked, calling himself a closet heterosexual.
I was incredibly promiscuous.
I bet you were.
And I think we'll leave it at that.
No, we can't.
Still, Bowie's journey of self-discovery and fluidity remained of great interest to many. British talk show host Jonathan Ross quite crassly questioned the artist's sexual orientation when he appeared on his show in 2002.
Were you bisexual? Were you pansexual? Were you trisexual? Because I thought being gay was a bit like the Foreign Legion. Once you joined, I didn't think you were allowed back.
I was just very, I just got my leg over a lot.
Bowie responded with plenty of wit and sass, ultimately giving Ross nothing but stealing the show at the same time.
The answer that I have for you would probably create such turmoil in your soul.
You know what? It probably
I'm not sure that you could actually withstand it.
Number 16, Chris Evans.
People are starting to forget Space Rangers ever mattered.
Well, I'm about to fix that. To infinity
and beyond.
In retaliation to the Don't Say Gay bill, Lightyear creators restored the film's previously cut kiss between Alicia Hawthorne and her wife. It's a blink and you'll miss it moment, but it still caused plenty of outrage and led the movie to be banned in multiple countries. When asked about it, the movie's star, Chris Evans, said that he's delighted they included it, but less pleased by how big a deal the moment was in the first place.
The goal is that we can get to a point where it is the norm, and that this doesn't have to be some uncharted waters, that eventually this is just the way it is.
He also fired back at the scene's critics, calling those up in arms idiots. Evans certainly doesn't mince his words, and we are so here for it.
Look, it's an honor to be a part of something that is taking those steps. But the goal is to look back on this time and just be shocked that it took us this long to get there.
Number 15, Ryan Reynolds. During an interview with HuffPost Live, Reynolds was asked about those who stated they were defecting to Canada after SCOTUS ruled in favor of same-sex marriage. This followed a tweet where he hilariously pointed out that it was already legal in his home country.
That's a true story. Your American dollar will go very far in Canada right now. About 23 cents in the dollar farther.
When the reporter asked the actor about his thoughts on same-sex marriage, he responded rather endearingly.
I'm not a monster. I think it's fantastic. I think it's it's been legal in Canada for 10 years now. So.
It seemed like a bit of a pointless question, given his evident support for the LGBTQ+ community. But if anyone had a shadow of a doubt before, they certainly knew he was an ally after. Just as we thought, we could not love him more.
We shouldn't be in a state of awe and celebration for it. We should be taking it for granted, like regular marriage at this point. It sort of feels like it's I don't know. It seems like we're way late on that here in the United States.
Number 14, Jodie Foster.
Do you have a steady boyfriend?
No. No. I don't have time.
Now, this is a moment that aged like fine wine. Growing up in Hollywood, we can only imagine that Jodie Foster became increasingly exhausted with the relentless interest in her love life. In 1979, at only 17 years old, an interviewer asked her if she had a boyfriend and pressed for more details about her ideal man.
What kind of fellow would you like, really, when you do have time to get around to that?
It would still be some time until Foster would come out publicly, but that smirk definitely felt like a sneer at the heteronormative assumption. The recently resurfaced clip has been memed countless times and branded as gay silence.
17-year-old Jodie Foster may play frivolous roles, but in real life, she's got it all together.
Number 13, Heath Ledger. In 2005, the late Aussie actor gave an award-winning performance as Ennis Del Mar in the Western romantic drama Brokeback Mountain.
What are we gonna do now?
Oh, Dad, there's nothing we can do.
Same-sex relationships were rarely spotlighted at the time, even less so in such a mainstream market. During a press junket, a reporter asked the actor to respond to those who branded the movie's central love story as, quote, disgusting.
I think it's a real shame. I think it's immature, for one. Really immature.
Ledger could have let his performance in the film speak for itself, but instead, he left no doubt about his feelings. He made it clear that he had no time for those kinds of attitudes, and highlighted the all-important humanity of the two characters at the center of the story.
We're showing that love between two men is just as infectious and emotional and strong and pure as it is with heterosexual love. And if you can't understand that, then just don't go see the movie.
Number 12. Judy Garland. Once labeled by The Advocate as the Elvis of the LGBTQ+ community, Garland has always fondly been thought of as a tremendous ally. Take this interview from the 1960s when she was questioned about her gay fan base.
Time magazine in a recent story said that Judy Garland, for some reason, which was not clear to me, attracts a lot of homosexuals in her audience.
I think that's the most ridiculous thing.
Garland wasted no time maintaining that her art was for everyone. She also politely stated that she wouldn't stand for anyone coming after her fans.
I'll be damned if I like to have my audience mistreated.
This is the woman who encouraged plenty of queer youth to live their lives openly somewhere over the rainbow, so we wouldn't expect any different. Years ahead of her time, Garland was an icon through and through.
Fly over the rainbow. Why then, oh why can't I?
Number 11. Jane Fonda. In 2020, an interview of Fonda defending the LGBTQ+ community during a 1979 interview resurfaced and went viral. In it, she can be heard warding off a stream of homophobic questions and doubling down on her support.
Are they using you, or are you using for your economic democratic campaign?
I hope they use me. What am I here for if not to be used by good people for good things?
This interview seems to have taken place around the time of the San Francisco White Night riots that followed the assassination of Harvey Milk, with whom she was reportedly friends. Fonda delivers a masterclass on true allyship and shows that this is a case she cares for deeply.
What this movement is seeking, which is nothing less than respect and justice, and stopping discrimination against people because of sexual preference, you're on the side of the angels.
How she keeps her cool is beyond us, because the questions are absolutely awful. But Fonda's never shied away from fighting for what's right, even when she's standing alone.
And so if we're going to survive as a world, and we may not, but if we do, they're going to win.
Number 10. Johnny Galecki. Rumors regarding the Big Bang Theory actor's sexuality have always been rife. However, he never really addressed them.
Now that we know you're not gay, can you tell us if you have a girlfriend?
Galecki initially looks confused when the hosts absent-mindedly throw his sexuality and relationship status into the conversation. He explains that since there's not much bad press on him out there, people need to make up stories. Galecki added that he has no reason or desire to respond to those whispers.
Because I always figured, why defend yourself against something that's not offensive, so.
In hindsight, host Whoopi Goldberg notes the ridiculousnly of the conversation, but it's too late. It's already out there.
I should have looked at it before I said it. But it was like, maybe. Now that, oh man, okay. Sorry about that.
Kudos to Galecki for giving such a classy and respectful response. Number 9. George Michael. The late great George Michael was a huge advocate for LGBTQ+ rights and unapologetic about his sexuality.
I have no problem with people knowing that I'm in a relationship with a man right now. I have not been in a relationship with a woman for almost 10 years.
He used his platform to campaign for causes close to his heart, such as HIV/AIDS awareness. Society and Michael's career kept him in the closet for years until an incident in 1998 led to his arrest and forced him to come out. In subsequent years, he criticized mainstream media for trying to box the LGBTQ+ community into, quote, doing what makes straight people comfortable.
I was just so indignant at the way I'd been treated until then. I was just thought, well, I'll just hold on to this. I don't think they need to know. I don't think I should have to tell them.
He also blasted homophobes in many an interview. Michael was never interested in their views or perceptions of him beyond his music. He also declared that he has, quote, nothing to apologize for.
The main thing I like to express is that I don't think it's anybody's business.
Too right, George Michael, too right. Number 8. Tom Hardy. Tom Hardy's a talented actor who's given us gripping performances in movies like Locke, Mad Max, and The Drop. However, a reporter from Daily Extra wasn't interested in any of that.
Your own sexuality seems a bit more ambiguous. Do you find it hard for celebrities to talk to media about their sexuality?
What on earth are you on about?
During a press conference promoting Hardy's Legend at the Toronto International Film Festival, a correspondent tried to get Hardy to speak about his personal life. The actor eloquently and calmly called out the invasive question and quickly shut it down.
Are you asking me about my sexuality?
Sure.
Why?
Why?
Thank you.
Okay.
He later explained that he isn't obliged to answer personal queries and called the question, quote, inelegant and humiliating and, quote, quite rude. What's baffling is that it came from an LGBTQ+ publication. You would think they'd understand how personal sexuality can be. In any case, Hardy's well-mannered and even-tempered response was perfect.
Yeah, you're not laughing now, are you?
Number 7. Paul McCartney. When you have a musical legend as major as a former Beatle on your show, we imagine you'd have a lot of questions. Asking how rock star bachelor life compares to marriage probably shouldn't even break the top 100, but McCartney rolls with it.
When you're that age, that's the kind of thing to do. I mean, what you're doing is you're going around and you're basically looking for girls or whatever turns you on and stuff.
While his response is very nonchalant, the host seems thrown by the idea that the world isn't entirely heterosexual.
Could you give me the alternatives to girls? Are there others?
Yes, boys.
Oh.
McCartney's dry retort and his wife's bemused expression tell us what they think about the boneheaded question. The singer can't help getting in one final jibe at the presenter before moving the conversation forward.
So we're very free thinking these days, Tom.
While Snyder's inquiry was bad, the McCartney's response only makes us love them more. Number 6. Melissa Etheridge. While appearing on The View, the singer-songwriter expressed her disappointment over Proposition 8, which invalidated same-sex marriages in California.
To actually see human rights be up for a vote in this Proposition 8 and to have people vote to take away rights is, to me, at the core, is very un-American.
She politely called out The View co-host Elizabeth Hasselbeck for misleading viewers on the matter in a previous episode. After a mildly heated debate over marriage equality, Etheridge point-blankly asked Hasselbeck whether she was a supporter of same-sex marriage. The presenter refused to answer the question and simply repeated that Prop 8 wasn't personal to her.
For me, it's just a legal issue. I think that it should come from the people. I don't think activist judges should be deciding what's right for the rest of the country.
Okay. We admire Etheridge's ability to stay cool, calm, and collected in this tense situation. The debate ended with Sherry Shepherd sending the singer to perform her song and suggesting they continue the discussion at a later date.
Thomas Jefferson wrote a paper on the rights of the minority should never be voted on by the direct democracy, by the majority. That should never happen.
Number 5. Lady Gaga. Remember when the media and public obsessed over Lady Gaga's genitalia? Well, one person who had no intention of jumping on that bandwagon was the Born This Way singer herself. She was usually known to crack jokes about these baseless claims with her fans during concerts, and she had the best response to these rumors when she was asked about them during a 60 Minutes overtime interview with Anderson Cooper. Rather than confirm whether or not it's true, she ridiculed the entire conversation. Gaga's LGBTQ+ fans applauded her for refusing to validate the gossip. They thanked her for standing up for them in a world that tries to shame them for who they are.
Hoping to speak to people who feel different, who feel disconnected.
People who feel disconnected from society or disenfranchised, feel like a freak, feel like you don't belong, like you don't fit in, or you'll never be great.
Number 4. Janet Mock. In 2014, transgender activist and director-producer Janet Mock appeared on Piers Morgan's show to promote her book, Redefining Realness. However, the presenter seemed more interested in discussing her transition.
In 2009, you meet a man, and you fall in love with this man, but there's something you have to tell him, something pretty big you have to tell him that he doesn't know, which is that you used to be yourself a man.
Morgan showed a disrespectful lack of understanding or compassion for the transgender experience. The Pose executive producer called out Morgan for trying to use her life for entertainment value and for his, quote, reductive thinking about gender.
Further showed other people in my community that if Janet Mock can be misgendered, if she can be labeled something that she is not, then what does that mean for me?
She later appeared on The Colbert Report to discuss the contentious interview. In 2017, the Breakfast Club presenters and their guest, Lil Duval, made horrendously offensive comments about trans women and mocked her book. This prompted Mock to write a powerful essay for Allure. She'd had enough of the ignorance and implored people to educate themselves.
Does it ever make you feel like, I don't gotta make you understand?
Most in my everyday life, that's how I feel.
Number 3, Madonna. Madonna is arguably one of the LGBTQ+ community's biggest allies. In 1991, while promoting her Truth or Dare documentary, the singer was questioned about her openness to sex and sexuality. She said that the lack of conversation surrounding these subjects contributed to some of society's biggest problems.
If it provokes an open discussion about sex with their parents, I think this is a really good thing.
Madonna hoped her actions and the dialogue they created would better educate young people and help them become more accepting of others. The Vogue singer also called out the hypocrisy over the double standards in American media.
We already have these videos that display degradation to women and violence that are played 24 hours a day, but yet they don't want to have a video playing that deals with sex between two consenting adults.
In another interview, when challenged over how her documentary could offend homophobes, Madonna made it very clear that she could not care less.
Your fans will love the film, I think, but some people are going to find sections of it offensive.
Well, that's their problem, though.
You don't care?
No, of course not.
Number 2, Ricky Martin. In 2010, Ricky Martin decided to live life as an out and proud gay man. But the Livin' La Vida Loca singer often found his sexuality at the center of the rumor mill before this point. In 2000, journalist Barbara Walters tried to push a visibly uncomfortable Martin to address his sexuality in a televised interview.
You know, you could stop these rumors. You could say, as many artists have, yes, I am gay. Or you could say, no, I'm not. Or you could leave it as you are, ambiguous.
Watching her force him into the hot seat is incredibly painful to watch. Years later, he recalled how violated he felt by her incessant questioning. He added that trying to force someone to come out was just wrong.
If you have an egg and you open it from the outside, only death comes out. But if the egg opens up from the inside, life comes out. So be careful.
In 2006, Walters acknowledged that her invasive questions were out of line.
Unless someone is openly gay and happy to talk about it, it's nobody's business, including mine.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. Number 1, Laverne Cox. This actress and LGBTQ+ activist is a fierce advocate for transgender equality and visibility. Cox never shies away from educating on transgender issues and has no problem putting people in their place when necessary.
My transition was about me existing in public space and thriving in society, and because I was able to do that, I've been able to thrive. That's all we want.
On one occasion, she politely explained to Wendy Williams what it means to be transgender while refusing to engage in conversation about her breasts. Cox also clapped back at Travis Weber when he insisted that trans women shouldn't be allowed to use female bathrooms.
I think it's important when we have conversations with and about transgender people that we do not reduce us to body parts. We are more than the sum of our parts.
However, the most famous occasion might be when she overheard Katie Couric asking model Carmen Carrera inappropriate and uncomfortable questions about her physical appearance. Cox stepped in and respectfully explained why questions like these are problematic.
The preoccupation with transition and with surgery objectifies trans people, and then we don't get to really deal with the real lived experiences, the reality of trans people's lives.
Which of these interview moments did you find the most shocking? Let us know in the comments.
Tell me your stories. I'm not afraid of who you are.